midweek. Don't worry, guys. It's just coffee. We just want to welcome you in and say hello. We're so glad you're here. Every Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock, we gather right here on YouTube. It's just a chance for us to step in a more personal way. You get to hear John and me tonight as we unpack some of what's going on with our church family. We want to connect with each other and just dig a little bit further into what God's up to in the life of our church. So we want to welcome you in and want to let you know that unlike if you've been a part of morning coffee or anything like that recently, in this format, John and I can't see the chat. I'm just telling you that because we want you to encourage you to interact with each other. It's great. Just let you know we're not ignoring you if you ask a question or anything like that. In this format, we're just doing it more as a conversation with John and I. We do always want to hear from you. So at any point, you can send us an email. You can interact in the chat. Lori's in the chat tonight with us. You can always connect with us on social media as well. So just want you to know the conversation's always ongoing. John, good to have you here, my friend. And it's you got a little time at the lake recently, and you look like you got a little bit of a tan, maybe. So
maybe. I mean, for an Englishman, this is as good as it gets. So gotta take what I can get, man.
Dude, those Englishmen, they don't know how to deal with sunshine. That's not something you're really genetically built for, that sunshine.
Dude, they don't, but I'll tell you this. There used to be a commercial that used to talk about lobsters at 10 o'clock, and it was all the British people on the beach. And I'll tell you this about English people. The minute the sun comes out, I don't know if you've ever been to an English beach, but it's like slumming it is how the British beaches feel. But the minute the sun comes out, it doesn't matter. People are staking up like they're staying the entire day. They are out there wearing way too little. And I'm talking about the dudes, not women. They got their Speedos and out they go. And we got the lobsters at 10 o'clock, man.
It's sun's out, guns out right there.
It's something, man. I don't know. I'm English. I don't even understand it. I'm like, something's just ain't right.
They're not you. They're like, what, son? We got to take advantage. Reminds me one summer when I was in college, I got to go down to Portugal and down to the very southern coast. It's called the Algarve down there.
Yeah.
It's crazy beautiful. But what's funny is like all the Brits take over that beach. So it's like, Portuguese people are like all about the sun, very fit, like trim people, pretty attractive people. But then like the summer, it was like the beach was just taken over and you could see all the Brits because they're just crazy white and just like, everybody's got the Speedos on.
Yep.
It's pretty, and all the locals are just like, dude, don't even go to the beach right now.
Dude, tell me this. Why do English people go to the beach with their black socks pulled up? You know what I'm saying? Like the black socks are pulled up. It might be a Speedo, might be shorts, but they got those black socks. Like, I don't get it, man. It's like a uniform for the beach.
So true. It's so true. What is with the black socks and so
I don't know, man.
It's like what happens to me, like now that I'm in middle-aged dad, it's like they just come that way. Like I kind of shift into that mode. British people just in that mode from the start.
You're born that way, man. You're born that way. You are in the whole way.
Okay, so I got to ask you this, then we'll talk about other like real stuff. But I love talking to you about your British part of your past and all that. So for you, what is there anything you see or hear that like takes you back to that time in life when the homeland for you, like it just transports you back?
It's a good question. I mean, we call it football, but there's definitely an element, especially if my brother or my dad are with me and I'm watching football, or if I went to visit my other brother's family and we like instantly it comes back. I think certain foods trigger it, like the feeling of home.
Yeah.
Like I actually just a couple of weeks ago made sausage rolls. I don't know if you've ever had a sausage roll.
No, you got to describe this. I like it. I like
where it's headed. So you know what puff pastry is?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I made my own puff pastry, which is a process in itself. I mean, dude, You talk about unhealthy. Okay, this defines British food. You take butter and you make a block of butter, and then you make a block of pastry, and you put the block of butter inside. Actually, you put the pastry and you wrap it in butter, and then you start doing these layers where they just interchange, and then it becomes puff, like you make puff pastry. So puff pastry is where you get all the thin layers. So anyways, you put sausage meat in this puff pastry and then bake it. And then that's like,
Oh,
dude, it's so good. Buttery. And so I made that I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. And that instantly, that's like, I can tell you, standing on the soccer terrace, watching a game live in my hometown, like you would have sausage roll, or going to the local pie shop, you would get those. So kind of.
now wait, you know how to make these, and we haven't talked about this before.
Yeah, man, I should see if I
Hold
can.
out on me.
Let me see if I can pull up a picture because I took pictures of them. This is the most ghetto thing I think I've ever done online. I'm going to show you a picture through my camera while sitting on my porch swing.
Yeah, but it's sausage roll, so it's.
Hey, here you go. Here you go. You ready? Right. Let me see if I can line it up.
Oh yeah.
You see that guy?
Oh yeah. I feel that. It's like I know it doesn't taste like it. Looks like baklava. You know how it's that real thin?
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not sweet, right? It's like a savory one.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
That's, okay. So you've been making.
Next time I make it, you feel like, if you hold it, it weighs like 50 pounds. So I'll just drop it off at your house, and
I like that.
So
this connects with.
Fault. If you gain weight from it, that's not my fault.
I was about to say, this connects with the beach conversation we just had about British people at the beach. Now we know what happened.
Now you know why we're so attractive when we get there.
But here's the thing. You just enjoying life. It's fine. It's good. Okay, one other question, not related. But I know you do like to cook and bake. Like this is a thing. What if I'm going to come over for dinner? Like, what are you going to serve to kind of flex a little bit, flex on that cooking skill?
See, I don't think I do that. I think I go to like something I enjoy that I know if I enjoy it, then the odds are the other person would.
Okay.
So we would do pizza.
Okay.
Homemade pizza. Homemade dough for the pizza. That's important.
Okay.
And then we would do wings with it. Homemade wings.
Ooh.
So we would do wings and pizza, man. And then
okay. That's hard to argue with that.
Keep it simple, man.
Maybe some sausage rolls for dessert. Let's skip right to let's go ahead and throw those on.
Dude, we got to do that one staff meeting.
Yes.
We're having an English pastry day.
You had me at pastry day. There's almost nowhere that the pastries are from. It's bad.
But you must have had that in Spain. Are they pastries in Spain or no?
Oh yeah. See, they're big. They kind of like croissants. Like they'll do these really flaky, nice. They'll put like that chocolate, kind of like Nutella.
Yeah.
In there with a coffee. I mean.
Yeah.
It's hard to mess up that. That's
in Spain, do they do the like cheese and jam with breakfast, or is that just further up in Europe?
No, they definitely. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm going to say. England and the States, we're not supposed to like compare cultures. They're all have it. But come on, we got breakfast down.
Yeah.
Those places,
we got blood pudding. It doesn't get any better blood pudding.
Well, okay, that's questionable. Yeah, but Spain is like blood pudding, no. But but yeah, they got that like, breakfast is like, a slice of ham, like kind of lunch meat, a little bit of cheese, a tomato, and you're like, hey, breakfast.
Yep.
Yeah, but they do have the croissants, so you can do that. And their coffee game is pretty strong.
England's coffee game is not good.
No, they do the tea though, right?
They do the tea, but their coffee's it's a little bit weak.
Yeah. Do you do the tea for breakfast, right? I mean, you'll have some like Earl Grey or something for breakfast.
You can do tea anytime. Like I've gone in this habit. I changed mine. I have tea at night, but it's just, I don't know. You just grew up on it. My grandma did the best.
British breakfast, I don't understand it. It's the beans, man. What's with those like baked beans, like pork and beans that you got for breakfast?
My kids were just asking me about that.
What's that about?
I'm like, I have no idea. But they taste good. You put those with eggs and some brown sauce, a little,
everything else
in there. It's good, man.
I'm rolling with you, except I'm like, no, we don't need those beans.
Dude, I'm we ever go to England, I'm getting you extra beans.
I don't want those beans. Not for breakfast. I'll take some coffee instead. Oh man. Anyway, well, we went completely off the rails, but
we're 11 minutes in and we've lost it. So
no. So everybody learned a little bit about
nobody here anymore. We don't even know because we don't see numbers.
That's right. So hopefully, if you're still around, you learned something about British food. And anytime in the chat you want to comment about how you should not eat beans for breakfast, that's fine. Please support me in the chat with that.
I bet Lori likes beans for breakfast.
Lori, that's a good question.
You could do it.
Lori is she can kind of handle anything. She's one of those, she can adapt. That's why I like Lori. I don't think she's serving beans for breakfast though. That's
missing
like
out.
Morning coffee with beans. It's just like that's not a thing that you do. We don't call it morning beans.
That's my new Starbucks order right there.
Yeah. You guys got me a
grande, bold, and a side of beans.
Yeah. What do they call those beans? Are they just beans?
Okay, so they're made by Heinz. You have to get the Heinz baked beans.
Okay. And they're
Heinz
baked beans.
Beans are not, they're next level. So you gotta get the right beans, but
they're baked beans. All right.
They're baked beans.
I want to go to England with you, but I don't want to eat breakfast with you. I'm scared of that. Do some fish and chips for sure.
There you go.
And some sausage rolls, man.
Steak and ale pie. Yeah. We're just gonna keep talking about food. We better jump tracks.
Yeah, we jump. This is the last time I'm allowed to be on midweek. I just sent it off the rails.
Sure, I'm getting banned. So
yeah, we're gonna have to do something else next week.
Bring back Ron.
Exactly. But this is the part that here is a good little transition for us, because we did want to talk a little bit about phase 2 for heights. We talked about it on Sunday a little bit. We want to unpack it a little bit more. And one of the things that phase 2 means, and we are celebrating, is the chance to be in some spaces together, even just talking about beans for breakfast and everything else. Like, there's just a lot of joy, as followers of Jesus and friends, when we can get together and just enjoy life, even the funny stuff. So, that's kind of something we're celebrating. I'm looking forward to it. I know we've been doing pop-up life groups are coming around, and a few other things that you're going to want to talk about. And I think I'm hosting one of those pop-up life groups starting this weekend. So I'm looking forward to seeing some people.
Do you know who's in your group yet, or it's just a surprise when you get there?
I don't know. Hannah's got it top secret. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say what time slot, but I got one of the groups, and so I can't wait. I have missed our church family so much face to face. Can't wait. Yep. And but this will be, a good chance to, I guess, walk us through a little bit about what phase 2 for heights specifically looks like, and some of the ways we have on the table that we can connect now.
Yeah, I think, like you said, with groups, one of the things to celebrate with groups, just like you're leaning into one, there's 5 others, unless the numbers increase since I last heard. So we're starting 6 groups that didn't exist prior to signups. 14 to 16 people in each. I mean, it's just a huge celebration point of people stepping into community in a season where, like, it's been pretty bleak when it comes to being together. And so that's super exciting. Phase 2, like you said, the gathering together is a big part of it. And we've been working with ministry teams on what that looks like. And it's been really interesting, man, navigating this whole, it was way easier to shut down our in-person gatherings than it is to re-enter our in-person gatherings. And I think just kind of what's been made aware of that is even just our journey with the senior leadership team this week, trying to come up with, okay, what are the parameters that are in place for ministries to begin gathering again? What do we, everything's attention right now, right? No matter what topic you talk about, no matter where we go, even within ourselves at times, there's this tension wrapped around. And in this case, do you wear masks or don't you wear masks? I talk to people every day who fall on both sides of the equation. Do you allow people to sit at a table together, or do they have to social distance 6 feet away from each other and try and do a personal conversation? Like, how does that work? And how do you do ministry? And this is how live we are, man. My neighbor's pulling out of his driveway. You'll probably hear it.
Hey, neighbor. Everybody wave to John's neighbor.
That's right. There he is. But, you know, it's just a reality that what we sit inside is we have to make decisions, but on every decision there's tension. And so just being honest with and we've talked about it, that there's no book for this. They didn't have a course in seminary on how to walk your church through a pandemic, you know? And on that side, you go, okay, there's not even leaders you can look to who have been there and done that. I mean, I heard one leader quote, he's been in ministry 40 years at the same church. That church is quite large now. And I heard him say that this is the hardest thing he's ever led through. And, you know, you begin to frame up where we actually are. No one has the right answers. Everybody's trying something. And so I think what's exciting with phase 2 is the way we've set ourselves up. We get to step in a way that hopefully is wise, hopefully is loving people well, but also meets the needs of people. I think the Thursday night thing coming tomorrow is awesome. I think being able to step back into a worship gathering where people can grow spiritually and connect relationally, I think there's some values that we really hold as a church that we get to celebrate on those nights. And I for me, again, it's not that we're going to do it right. It's not that we know what's going on. But just kind of stepping in and going, okay, we'll take the first step and see where it goes and what we do. See how people social distance, see what it's like to sing socially distance. Do we need to wear masks based on, you know, the realities that we're facing within our community and numbers and all that stuff? So yeah, there's a lot of good. The office is open again to the public, which is exciting.
Yep.
But yeah, phase two's fun, man. It's there's a lot happening that we get to celebrate. Which, seeing is celebrating, I saw that your kids were doing virtual VBS.
Oh man, they are loving it. They are all about it. And I'll be honest, my wife and I, Sarah, we were a little worried just because parents, we try to like limit the screen time a little bit.
Yep.
And it's been like all bets off. Like, you know, they're getting way more screen time than they usually do. And we were kind of worried they might be kind of checked out. Like, okay, is it gonna? And my kids have literally they're in front of the TV, like dancing. They got this big a bag of crafts, you know, to do throughout the week. And they are all about it. Like, I get home and the boys are like, Dad, look what we made. It's really sweet. It's really, really sweet.
That's awesome.
That's a big celebration. I know. I mean, there's been talking to Pastor James, like almost 200 people, kids. I mean, and that's households, let's say, have tuned in. So there's multiple kids in a lot of those households, of course, just like mine. So it's fun to see some of this stuff. And it makes me excited about the future too. You know, we talk about how much we long to get together and be in person. I'm definitely a face-to-face person. I got a face that, you know, it's hard to appreciate on Zoom. You got to be in person. And so I long for that. But then we're also learning there have been some real amazing wins for ministry purposes as we connect with people online, from the weekend to things like morning coffee, which did not exist before this happened. And that's been a great place for conversation and prayer, and MidWeek like we're doing right now. Yep. And so God's been doing some pretty cool things in the technology piece. We're kind of tired of it right now. I know all of us are kind of worn out, but it's something that it's been a real learning season that it's going to carry us forward, I think, in some ways in the days ahead, for sure. And something you said, John, that it really resonated with me was just, you used the word tension. You know, it's this feeling of like, man, we want to be together and we also want to be safe. And we want to, meet the needs of the people who are just like, hey, I got to see some people or I'm going to explode, right? And then there's the people that are like, everybody stay 10 feet away from me and put on a mask. And we're trying to, the tension. And what resonated with me there, and this is, I guess, a kind of something new for me. Like, I'm a person that likes clarity. I try to be clear when I speak and with people, and I don't like ambiguity. I like it. Hey, where are we going? Pick a lane. Let's do it.
Yep.
I don't like there to be tension, but I find myself realizing in this season, if I don't feel tension, then I don't understand the whole picture. And I think it's just like from the relationships in my life right now. You talk about culture stuff, you talk about church stuff, you talk about mask or no mask, or, it's like anything where I'm like, what's wrong with all those other people? I know if I don't feel that tension, I don't understand everything. And I'm learning to embrace that tension a little bit.
I think that's a really good way to look at it. I think in my world, it's been on so many fronts. We've talked about it. We saw it in an article, and I heard the podcast that it was referenced in, but just a pastor expressing, the idea of a marathon, and you run the marathon only to get to the end and somebody tell you to start swimming because you're actually in a triathlon. And I think this season's felt a lot like that. Like, just when you thought you had this piece figured out, this whole other part of our culture opened up, or this whole other aspect of leading a church family through this. And I think, like you're saying, it's so brilliant because it really does come down to sitting in the tension of, I get both sides. And yet the position we sit in, now we got to make a decision. And I think if you don't sit in the tension and feel both sides, it's really hard to make a wise decision in leading. And I think that's where preference can get you in so much trouble, because if we led by preference, I think it'd look a whole lot different. And yet at the same time, we joke about the mask one, but you see that tension play out every time you go to the store. They're only at the store because they have to be. Much different than, we sit in a spot where you talk about opening doors to something that those people now feel, now the tension's passed to everyone else going, are you going to show up or aren't you? And there's some that it's a no-brainer. There's others who the longing to worship and be a part of it, but knowing it's not good for them, now they have a tension they have to navigate. And I just think it's really, really good what you're saying. And we grow, man. I feel like I've personally grown so much in this season in my own views of things. I'll be honest with you. I've watched more news since this whole thing started than I've ever watched in my life. Trying to get, and I mean, I'm watching, like, you name it, it's across the spectrum, trying to understand what in the world is actually going on.
Yeah.
Like, what actually is truth? What actually is the piece in here that is real? And that's been a journey that I've never experienced before, somewhat because before you could kind of figure it out. You didn't need a whole lot of, but the growth that comes from sitting in that tension, I think, has been really, for me, it's been a rich experience. Come with a lot of scars, but it's a rich experience.
Yeah, for sure. And the challenge right now, we all face it. I know, I mean, you face it, staff, but just as a believer right now, trying to walk the path where, there's the tension of everything getting, just polarized, just every opinion is tied to like a whole belief system, so if where you sit on wearing a mask or not in public goes right down to like the core of who you are and what you believe. Like, we're so worked up. And then, like, as a follower of Jesus, I'm trying to pick this middle path. Like, I'm not for this party or this group, I have my views and ideas,
Yeah.
but I'm here for Jesus, like I'm for him, for Jesus and his kingdom. That's my guy. That's my cause. And it's just really, this season has highlighted how tough that is. It's that tension. So it's like a three-way tension. of like this party, that group, this, and then there's the tension of like, okay, I got to find the path forward that would be following Jesus through this, and then try to stick to that. It's a lot of work.
Well, and then you throw in tension fatigue, where I really do think some people are so tired of tension that, and some of it is that like when you study how the brain works, like in decision making, that your brain doesn't want to burn the calories. Like they talk about it as speakers in church. The harder we make it to follow something, the more unclear we are, the more calories somebody, and your body's telling you, I don't want to burn calories, I just want to survive, right? And so your brain starts shutting down and you don't follow, and so on. I wonder how much, when it comes to tension fatigue, that actually exists in people jumping. They'll take something that they hear that isn't the full thing, it's just part, but they put you in a space and or on a side like you're talking about. And that was just a tiny bit, but the brain's connected the dots the way they need to be able to put it to the side then and move on to something else and get rid of the tension. And I wonder how much that happens.
Yeah, because it's just a relief, right? You're like, okay, answered that question, put it in the box.
Yep.
Even if, there wasn't enough work. My brain didn't burn enough calories to come up with a real good answer to that question. I just kind of, Yeah.
Well, and what's really hard then is so many of the conversations happening right now on multiple levels, they aren't reconciling yet. And that lack of ending the story, reconciling the story, like to sit in that is creating more fatigue, and the body's going, I don't want more fatigue, I want to get out of this. And that's then its own vicious cycle within itself, because you're essentially fighting yourself to stay in the tension because there's growth in the tension. It just gets exhausting.
Yep. It's just like back to your analogy. You run the marathon. You think you've hit the finish line, and someone hands you a bike, and you're like, what? And I feel like that's where we're at. Like everybody's like, okay, we're done with this, COVID business. We're ready. And then somebody's like, oh no, here's a bike.
I like what you said.
Got the flat tire, so you got to fix that first.
I like what you said, where I'm not good at riding a bike either.
It's like, I don't ride bikes. What are we doing?
You do now.
Yeah, now I'm on a bike. Right. The 2020 just keeps giving, man. Now I got to ride this bike. Exactly right, man.
That's why 2020 has 2 tires in it.
Oh, no. Should have seen it coming all the way back in January. There was a bike in my future.
Oh, man.
Dude, I think I'd eat beans for breakfast before I'd ride a bike.
Hey, we can arrange that.
Oh, no, that's true. I shouldn't have promised that. So as far as, I guess I want, recap for people real quick, I guess, like what's new for phase 2 for Heights, and like what's open to us to experience. Of course, Sunday is still happening online. That's open, like it has been online on there. And then we got worship night, which was by reservation.
Yeah.
So that at that point, unfortunately, if you weren't able to jump in on Sunday and grab a spot, stick around for another time where we're going to learn from worship night. Look for what to do next.
Yep.
What other things you see and we got available for us?
Yeah, and it's just worth saying the registration thing, right? Because some people, we sit in attention. Some people think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The world we live in, if someone was to be found positive that was at that event, we have a responsibility now as an organization by law to now track people and let them know that there was somebody there, and that's the world we live in. That's the tension we live in. So yeah, registration is the way. We're recommending masks for it. Social distancing will apply to seating, and we have a way we think we can make that work well. We'll have hand sanitize. I can't say the word right now.
Sanitizer.
Yes. Oh my God.
Baked beans for breakfast. There'll be some baked beans there.
Been a long day. No, But we'll have stations set up where you can do that, and then just trying to be wise, trying to do everything we can to keep people safe. Like I said, masks are recommended. We're going to have staff and any serve team wear masks. And again, it's the idea of I can love you through doing this. I don't think there's anybody that goes, "Ooh, I love wearing a mask." Yeah. But it's the reality of we can help one another to the best that we know. That's the way we can. And then, yeah, pop-up groups are happening twice a week. You can still get in one of those, sign up for one of those. But again, that's more about how do we connect relationally and grow spiritually. That's a way we can do it through the summer. Life groups, if you're in a life group, your life group may be carrying on through the summer. Some groups are. Some needed a break, just fatigue, and we get that.
Yeah, and those pop-up life groups are for anybody. Like if you haven't been in a part of a life group before, like you don't have to have any kind of previous signups or training or orientation or anything like that for those pop-up groups. So that, just to clarify, and that's on the website. So you can go to heights.church.com and then click on the COVID-19 response button on the home page. And then you can just sign up there quickly and we'll find a spot for you. I hope that's something I hope people take advantage of. That's a really good way to connect with people, with your church family right now.
Yeah. And I think both, and I think you mentioned it, but just if you're in a life group, but your life group's taking a break, this is a way that you can step in if that's something that's a need to you right now. It's all about, and that's all about what I would say phase 2 is it's just recognizing, like, we all still have needs. We're all still human. We all, the desire to connect or the need to connect. And just want to make that available and try and do it in a way that matches culturally the context we find ourselves in right now. And ministries, there's ministry groups starting up. I know youth are beginning to plan out their July and have some great options coming that way. I know women's ministry stepping into some stuff. I know men's ministry have been talking about it, whether they'll carry on doing what they're doing or switch up. And so there's some stuff that we can, begin to step into. In-person memorials. We're beginning to, ones we had to put on hold because of the campus being closed. We can now start to put those in place and on calendar and see families loved through the grieving process and do that well. So, and then, like I said, the office is open, which allows us to get back to somewhat normal with meeting with people and begin pushing things forward again. But again, it's all under caution because, very easily you look at the news. I had the news on last night, and Arizona was the #1 state last night for new cases. And I think you were telling me you got a buddy from across the country.
Yeah, a friend in New York City, like lives in Manhattan, been holed up in her apartment for months. Was like, hey, just calling to check on you. Seeing Arizona pop up in the news. I'm like, man, anytime anybody in New York City is worried about my safety out here, we got to look at that. So yeah.
Yeah. And so just recognizing that and going, this is what we're doing for phase 2. We're stepping forward because we know this is a way we can love well. And this is what we can do at this point. But at the same time, also, we're in a wait and see. And so as we step in, just reacting to what we find as we move forward. So I've been on I know we're short on time, but I've been on a call every Tuesday, Ron and I have, with other pastors from the area. And it's been life-giving through this time because we've been able to sit with one another every Tuesday and go, hey, what's your church doing when it comes to, and we started pre-closing the in-person gatherings. And so we watched each other kind of close. And then, for some of those in town, they've stepped in and their in-person gatherings are going, and we've been able to celebrate with them as they've stepped in, but also gain wisdom from them in how they've done it and what they've done and what's worked and what hasn't, what's been the cost of stepping back in and that kind of stuff. And so it's been really rich to gain wisdom from the church community at large and really feel like we're stepping forward together. And so even that's just been encouraging, knowing where we are today isn't just built on what we feel like, but it really is built on collective wisdom, sitting with God, elders, praying and coming to unity together on decisions, and senior leadership team and staff. And so I just think it's been a really rich season from the church at large, but also just for us. And man, nothing's been done out of impulse, or it's been a seeking the Lord, listening to wise wisdom, and then stepping forward together. So it's exciting to actually see us be able to move into some of the phase 2 stuff that we've been kind of planning and waiting for the right time to step in. So
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
it is good stuff. Like you said, a lot of tension, difficult season, a few scars, but thankful for it. I think one of the questions that you had in your message this week, weekend message, we were just talking about it before we jumped on. You said, I'm going to read it. What does it look like to live from the posture of what can I do for you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great question as we kind of think about stepping into phase 2. It's a little bit of what we want, and it's a lot of what can I do for you? And we're all giving up our rights with masks and no masks and gatherings and how we sit and when things take place and all of that. We're trying to give up and ask that question, what can I do for you? It's not about me. It's about how can I serve the people in my church and the people around me, and even things like masks and all of that. It's a kind of in a strange way, it's kind of a gift that God's given us to literally have a physical way where we can, in some ways, even be humble and for the sake of other people, do something, even if it's, I always keep that mask in my back pocket. If I'm in a space where, it's uncomfortable, other people are feeling uncomfortable, then I just put it on. And it's just a way to signal, hey, I'm here for you. I'm not here for me. And we're in a season full of those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a real gift and a real tension.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, from the weekend, those are the words of Jesus. What do you want me to do for you? Right? Like, essentially, what can I do for you? We're in pretty good company when our posture and our words match up with the words of Jesus. And in that case, in one case, it's his disciples who are being prideful and seeking position and all of that. In the other case, it's someone who's been blind and is just at the lowest of the low, wanting sight. And I think that's the beauty of it to me, is Jesus's posture, even when, like, he could have easily have rebuked the disciples, and instead he engages the conversation with, well, what can I do for you? And the way he leads them is much different than what he does for the blind man. But the goal is still the same, of he entered it as in a posture of just, man, I'm here to love you and serve you and walk alongside you and see you get the best out of life. And so I don't know, to me, it's super encouraging that we don't go far wrong when we just, okay, how can we be more like Jesus? Well, this is what we can do this week, is just what can I do for you?
Yeah. It ties in so well with Ron's message the week before, where he really leaned into that idea of humility and Christ being humble. I mean, talk about humility, right? I mean, this is God on earth and he's coming to a blind person that everybody else is walking past, and he asks, what can I do for you? I mean, that's the Jesus that we serve, and the Jesus we're trying to put hands and feet to.
Yeah.
Down. It's pretty amazing.
And it's so fascinating that the guy asked for mercy. You know what I mean? Out of everything he could have, he cries out, hey, have mercy on me. And he could have said many, many other things, but when you think about mercy and you think about the posture of humility, that's really where mercy stems from. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful picture.
Well, it's probably a good place to land it tonight. Appreciate you, John. Love you. Thanks for Sunday, and thanks for your leadership in this season. Lots of tension, hopping on that bike.
We're wobbling at times, but we're riding.
We're wobbling. I'm a little slow. I'm bringing up the rear on that bike, but I'm there. I'm on that bike with you. Yeah, and want to remind folks this tonight, because of VBS for kids, there's no Heights Kids midweek tonight. It's VBS instead. If you have not gone to check it out, you can check out tonight's VBS. It's called Focus. It's on the Heights Kids YouTube channel, which you can find pretty easily. Just look for Heights Kids here on YouTube. It's something you can actually go back and check out the Monday and Tuesday as well. So if you haven't started, it's not too late. Go back on the Monday and jump in. Your kids, grandkids, neighbor kids, anybody you got around there that you can share it with will love it. We also want to remind you, worship night tomorrow night. Please keep in mind, it was a registered event. We're not trying to make it exclusive. We want to be able to take care of everybody that shows up with seating and everything you need to be safe and enjoy the night. So if you did miss out, please don't take it personally. And please know we'll be looking for other ways to get you involved soon. But please.
Hey, can I do a teaser?
Yeah. Okay. We got a teaser.
Be at Sunday services, you might find out about the next worship night.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there. You went there. I was being real nice, and you just kind of went there. So
Sunday. Yeah. No, I'm just saying this week if you're there Sunday.
Oh, this Sunday. I get you.
This Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
I thought you were like, dang. I was like, okay, John. Coming in hot on midweek. That's great. You're allowed to do.
I'm not taking shots at people. I'm saying if if you missed out, dude, this week there might be something in Sunday services about.
I got you. Yeah, which are at 10:30. And look, I'm going to recommend, if you're really sad that you missed out on a worship night this week, you want to jump in on that 10:30 service. So get in there. 10:30 right here on YouTube as well. Facebook, Instagram, we're always here. Also, you can always just send us an email. We love you and have a heart always to connect with you. We want to pray for you, pray with you, walk with you, ride the bike with you in the season that we're in.
And stop and eat beans for breakfast.
Do not, come on, man. There's a lot of good things about British culture, but let's not do the beans for breakfast.
Dude, we didn't get to it, but we've had beans, bikes, like we talked about masks, but the thing we didn't get to is we didn't talk Last Dance. So
yeah,
we're gonna have to watch it, and then we're gonna have to talk Last Dance.
Okay, and I got something for you. I'm gonna watch Last Dance. I'm gonna confess what I watched on Netflix last night. There's this show, and
I'm a little scared now.
Don't worry, we're not gonna get any emails on this one. There's a show. I felt like I'm a 5-year-old. That's why. There's this show called The Hot Lava.
Hot Lava.
Have you seen? Okay, so it's kind of like Ninja Warrior. You ever watch that, where it's like these big physical obstacles? People gotta like do crazy acrobatics to cross obstacle course. So it's kind of like that, but it's in this room where the whole floor, there's no floor. It's like a big pool of hot lava. I think it's like water or something. And so you got to get from one side of the room through a bunch of obstacles to the other side, but everything's like super slippery and you got to jump. So people just like send it onto, and they're just like hit an obstacle, flap in the water, and you're in a team of 3 people. So you got to try to get your team all across. It's greatness because somebody will just wipe out, just face plant, and then they're like, they're in the lava. It's like super dramatic. So yeah.
What's it on? Netflix.
Hot lava. Watch Last Dance. You check out Hot Lava. I think your kids will probably like it too. I'm gonna.
Yeah, my kids will dig it. I can already tell.
It's just people wiping out the whole time. It's great. It makes me feel better about my bike riding skills. Well, on that note, we took midweek way off the rails, but it's been fun to hang out with you, John. Love you, my friend. Everybody there on YouTube, love you too. Be in touch. See you morning coffee Friday morning, 10 o'clock right here. See you Sunday, 10:30, weekend worship online.